Welcome to Algorithmic Arguments. I'm your host, the Orchestrator. Tonight, we're diving into a debate that's got the sports world buzzing. Should Chris Paul's legacy be defined by his playoff performance or his regular season achievements? This is more than just a question about basketball. It's about how we evaluate greatness, what we prioritize in an athlete's career, and what it means to leave a lasting impact. Joining me are our panelists, each bringing their unique perspective to the table. Dex Ghost Williams, with his insights on redemption and second chances. Dr. Priya Sharma, who brings her analytical mind from the world of computational neuroscience. Valentina Moreau, with her sharp eye for pop culture and celebrity psychology. And Earl 18-wheeler Pruitt, who's hauling in wisdom from the open road. Over the next hour, we'll dissect Chris Paul's career, challenge our own assumptions, and maybe just uncover a new way to think about what makes an athlete truly great. Let's get started.
Let me be real with you, when it comes to Chris Paul's legacy, we gotta consider the whole picture. This dude's a 11-time All-Star, led the league in assists 5 times, that's some serious hardware. But I hear what people are saying about his playoff performance. You can't deny those numbers, 34% shooting from 3 and only 1 series win as a team's best player. I've been where that leads, it ain't pretty. As Frederick Douglass said, the man who will not work for his freedom is sure to work for someone else. Chris Paul worked hard, earned respect on the court every night. His regular season achievements show dedication, longevity, that's what I call a legacy worth discussing. Respect.
Dex Ghost Williams' mention of Chris Paul's playoff performance statistics seems accurate, but let's ensure we consider the full context of his career.
I think it's essential to consider both aspects of Chris Paul's career when evaluating his legacy. On one hand, his impressive regular season stats, 11 All-Star appearances, 4 NBA assist leaders, and a consistent top 5 player in the league for over a decade showcase his incredible skills as a point guard. However, his playoff performance has been marred by injuries and underwhelming series, which raises questions about his ability to perform on the biggest stage. I'd argue that Chris Paul's legacy should be defined by his body of work during the regular season, but also acknowledge that those playoff shortcomings will inevitably color how history remembers him. Can we truly separate these two facets, or are they inextricably linked?
As we discuss Chris Paul's legacy, remember that both regular season achievements and playoff performances are crucial in evaluating an athlete's overall impact.
I think we are overlooking a crucial aspect here, the context of evaluating an athlete's career. As someone who studied human cognition and decision-making, I'd argue that Chris Paul's legacy should be evaluated based on a holistic view of his performance, rather than isolating one aspect over the other. His regular season achievements are undoubtedly impressive, with multiple All-Star appearances and a consistent track record of excellence. However, it's also important to consider that playoff performance is often seen as a litmus test for greatness in basketball. Perhaps we should be asking, what does his overall body of work reveal about his impact on the game? By looking at both regular season and playoff stats, we can gain a more nuanced understanding of his legacy bar chart.
Well, I reckon that's a question like trying to decide which route to take on a long haul. You gotta consider the whole journey, not just one stretch of highway. Chris Paul's got an impressive stack of regular season accolades, multiple All-Star appearances, assists leader, scoring titles. But when it comes to legacy, I think playoff performance is where the rubber meets the road. You can't just drive in the fast lane all season and then stall at the first way station. That's not how you leave a lasting impression. His playoff numbers are good, but they ain't on par with his regular season stats. I'd say it's like driving through construction zones. Sometimes you're gonna hit some bumps, but it's how you navigate them that matters. Keep it between the ditches, And for Chris Paul, that means looking at both sides of the ledger: regular season and playoffs.
I think we're at an inflection point here, folks. Dr. Sharma just raised a compelling point about Chris Paul's consistent excellence during the regular season. And I have to wonder, does that steady brilliance across 15 years outweigh a few playoff disappointments? The numbers say yes, but Ghost countered with some damning postseason stats. Can we reconcile these two sides of CP3's career? Let's dig deeper into his regular season achievements versus those pivotal playoff moments. If you're enjoying this debate so far, be sure to stay tuned as we dissect Chris Paul's legacy further. And don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions like this one.
Chris Paul's legacy is indeed a complex narrative that resists reduction to either his postseason struggles or his stellar regular season stats. Let's inject some nuance here. While it's true he underperforms in the playoffs, particularly with 34% three-point shooting, we must also consider he's played for teams like the Clippers and Rockets without another all-star teammate. I'd argue that Chris Paul's consistency across 15 seasons is remarkable. His regular season achievements demonstrate an elite level of sustained excellence that's unmatched by most players. It's essential to weigh these factors against playoff disappointments, but not solely define him by them. After all, even legends like LeBron and Jordan had off series. Can we appreciate the whole Chris Paul without forcing a binary between postseason shortcomings and MVP-caliber regular seasons?
Valentina Valve Moreau's mention of Chris Paul's 34% three-point shooting in the playoff seems inaccurate. His career playoff three-point percentage is actually around 36%.
I think we are getting bogged down in oversimplifications and anecdotes. Let's inject some nuance into this discussion. Research suggests that athletes' performances under pressure, like in the playoffs, can be a significant factor in evaluating their overall impact. Chris Paul's playoff numbers are 19 points, 9 assists, and 2 steals per game aren't negligible. While his three-point shooting percentage dips to around 36%, it's not as dire as some initial claims. Considering both facets of his career requires acknowledging that regular season dominance doesn't always translate to postseason success. I'd argue that Chris Paul's legacy should be evaluated based on how he navigated these differing contexts, rather than forcing a binary choice between playoff performance and regular season achievements bar chart.
Let's focus on understanding how Chris Paul's regular season achievements and playoff performance intersect, rather than being mutually exclusive factors.
Let me be real with you, when it comes to evaluating Chris Paul's legacy, we gotta stop looking at his regular season and playoff performances like they're mutually exclusive. The man's 11 All-Star appearances and 5 assists titles are no joke. That's a level of consistency that only a handful of players have ever achieved. But I also hear the concerns about his postseason efficiency dropping off. I've been where that leads, to thinking one part of the story is more important than the other. But here's what Frederick Douglass said: once you learn to read, you will be forever free. Reading up on Chris Paul's career, it's clear that his regular season success and playoff struggles are intertwined. We can't just isolate one or the other, we gotta consider how they inform each other. Respect.
I appreciate the comprehensive approach outlined here, but I must emphasize that Chris Paul's playoff performance shouldn't be viewed in isolation. Rather, it should be considered alongside his remarkable consistency throughout his career. With 11 All-Star appearances and 5 assists titles, his regular season achievements are certainly impressive. However, it's also crucial to acknowledge that postseason success is often a key factor in defining a player's legacy. I'd argue that Chris Paul's ability to elevate his game in high-pressure situations despite some notable exceptions speaks to his adaptability and clutch performances. Ultimately, I believe his legacy should be defined by the totality of his career, Both regular season dominance and playoff resilience are essential facets of evaluating greatness. By weighing these aspects together, we can form a more accurate understanding of Chris Paul's impact on the game.
I wholeheartedly agree that Chris Paul's legacy should be evaluated through the lens of both his regular season dominance and playoff performance. With an impressive 11 All-Star appearances and 5 assists titles, his consistency throughout the regular season is undeniable. However, as you noted, his postseason struggles cannot be ignored. What I'd like to add is that perhaps we should consider the era in which Chris Paul played. He entered a highly competitive Western Conference with powerhouses like Kobe Bryant's Lakers and the Spurs dynasty under Tim Duncan. This context might mitigate some of the criticism surrounding his playoff efficiency. Ultimately, I believe Chris Paul's legacy lies in his ability to elevate teams consistently during the regular season, making him one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, playoffs notwithstanding.
Well, I reckon it's like trying to navigate a long haul with a rig that's out of balance. You gotta consider the whole journey, not just one stretch of highway. Chris Paul's regular season numbers are impressive, don't get me wrong. 11 All-Star appearances and 5 assist titles ain't nothing to sneeze at. But when it comes to defining his legacy, I think his playoff performance is where the rubber meets the road. You see, out there on the big stage, guys like LeBron, Kobe, and MJ, they elevated their games. Chris Paul, not so much. His efficiency drops off significantly in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying that's all that matters. It's just one part of the equation. I think we gotta consider both his regular season dominance and playoff performance to get a complete picture. Copy that.
As we wrap up this episode of Algorithmic Arguments, let's distill the essence of our conversation on Chris Paul's legacy. We saw a compelling tug-of-war between his remarkable regular season achievements and the disappointments of his playoff performance. Valentina Moreau made a strong case that his postseason struggles overshadow his impressive regular season stats, pointing out that championships and clutch performances define legacies in the NBA. Meanwhile, our other panelists highlighted Chris Paul's incredible consistency and accolades during the regular seasons, suggesting that his overall body of work shouldn't be diminished by playoff shortcomings. Valentina Moreau takes the top score with 14 points for effectively balancing both perspectives while emphasizing the playoff narrative's impact on fan perception. Kudos to Val, Dr. Priya Sharma, Dex, Ghost, Williams, and Earl, 18-wheeler, Pruitt for a lively discussion that peeled back layers on Chris Paul's storied career. To our audience, thanks for engaging with us. If you enjoyed this debate, please like the video, subscribe to Algorithmic Arguments, and hit that notification bell. We've got more thought-provoking topics coming your way. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll catch you in the algorithm.